Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from WagerTalk's, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 WagerTalk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.
Hey guys, welcome in and a very happy Madness Thursday to you. It is last call. I am not Meghan Payton. However, I am filling in for her. She'll be back here on Saturday with you guys, as we'll be that much closer, of course, to crowning a national champion in college basketball. But before we get to the weekend, of course, we've got to get through tonight. We've got a number of games getting ready to come up. 4, in fact, in the regionals here in college basketball. We've got a 4-game slate in the association. We've got a loaded card in the NHL on the ice tonight. Carmine Bianco will be joining us here in just a few. He's got a couple of interesting looks tonight on the ice for you. And, of course, we've got the Pen, Ralph Michaels, as well as Mr. Refuse to Lose in March Madness. Mr. Adam Trigger is going to be joining us here, going for a whopping 15-0 here tonight in the tournament, and much to get to here, guys. So if you have any questions, those of you joining us live right now in the chat room, pop your questions on. You got a certain game, you got a certain question as far as anything to do with how to bet these games, what you're looking at, thoughts, opinions. Drop them in, guys. We'll say hello to Frizz Allen hanging out there. Always a pleasure to see you guys here on Last Call. And we're going to bring in the Pen first here, Mr. Ralph Michaels joining us. Look at that. He got a slim down pen, but he's got a pen nonetheless there, guys. Welcome in, Ralph. Always a pleasure, my friend. The madness is back on here tonight. We love it. And we also know, of course, you've got a little TNA you're going to share with us here coming up, as well as a couple of best bets here for the show. Is there anything going on that we need to know at your page at Wager Talk first?
Well, I got a couple games going off now. One of the plays I'm going to use as a best bet tonight is a client release. I'm going to give you a best bet for tomorrow. That is a client release. And if you jump over and catch the NBA show, I gave you my actual NBA play for today. So you're getting a few of my plays for free. You know, we are going to give some love to my son on this. Joe, you, Dwayne, Bryan, and I, a couple of weeks ago, did a TNA segment for March Madness. We got incredible feedback. Adam Trigger was in for Marco yesterday on college basketball, bet on it. My son did a TNA segment, and he did an incredible job. He came up with an 18 ATS and over-under situation for Sweet 16s and on. That PDF is free on his homepage at SportsMemo. You can go to sm.buzz/JMS. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 of those situations now so you get a little feel of what it's about. And there's some interesting overall situations that you should be aware of in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, no, it's an intriguing situation, and so far the tournament has been a little bit different this year, especially from a totals perspective, Ralph. And that, I think, is a lot of people have a lot of questions about that, right? 75% to the under so far. Do you remember a March Madness where it's been this lopsided? I mean, we saw historic overs during the regular season in college basketball. 75% to through the first 2 rounds. Can you remember a year like this where we've seen that much of a one-sided situation when it comes to totals?
Well, there hasn't been, Joe, but it's been a 60% plus under situation in March Madness just blindly in the last 6 years. And I'm going to take that a step further. Dogs have normally covered about 58% in March Madness. So far, the first 2 rounds, favorites actually covered 51%. So that's a little bit of an off take. But when I went back and looked at my son's guide since 2016, If you blindly bet every Sweet 16 favorite, you've gone 14, 22, and 2. That's
Wow.
39%. And if you bet every over-under, only 13 overs, 25 unders. So the Sweet 16 Pacific unders have cashed 65.8%. So history has shown us if you got accustomed to those unders, we're going to see more of them coming up.
All right. Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Ralph. We love that. And of course, guys, you see the address there, sm.buzz/JMS. That'll give you a link there to I believe, your son's page there over at SportsMemo. There's more, TNA, where that came from over there. And Ralph, talk to us here. We got a game tonight, I believe, and a game tomorrow night that you want to talk about a little bit. Give us an idea of what you're looking at here tonight in March Madness.
Joe, I'm going to give you a sprinkle of 3 situations
Ooh.
first from my son's guide. So how
Love
about
it.
this? Only 7 times since 2018 have both teams playing in the Sweet 16 covered round 1 and round 2. This year, Michigan State, Kansas State applies. UConn, Arkansas applies, as does Creighton and Princeton. Since 2018, when those teams have met in the Sweet 16, 7 unders, 0 overs. We'll see if that continues. Joe, before we came on, system number 2 I want to share with you. You were talking about a high seed in Florida Atlantic and the win streak they're on. Did you know since 2012, in the Sweet 16, teams as a 9 seed or higher have gone 16, 7, and 1, 69.6%, and they've gone 6 and 18 over under. That's 75% to the under. And even more amazing, since 2017, in this round, teams like Florida Atlantic and Princeton, as a 9 seed or higher, have gone 10 and 3 against the spread and have actually won 7 of the 13 games outright with an average line of plus 6.3. So Kelly Stewart smiles. If you're a money line player, those high seeds have done well. And the last one I want to mention, and I'm going to be talking about this game as well, when a team has covered round 1 and round 2 by at least 11 plus points. So you've had back-to-back easy games for the most part. Those teams like Connecticut and Princeton have gone 16, 2, and 1, 89% against the spread.
Wow, good stuff there, Ralph. Plenty of great information along those lines, guys, available to you. That's what the TNA is all about. And it, of course, runs in the family, it appears there, Ralph. So you've got some angles there that we can latch on to. Now talk to me about one of the games coming up here tonight involving UConn and Arkansas. We're seeing 3.5s. 4, somewhere in that ballpark there, 140, I believe, as a total. Are you leaning one way or the other in this matchup?
I am. I'm leading UConn. And again, this is an actual client release for me. You look at UConn, and to me, they are by far the most underseeded team in the tournament. Ken Palm had them as their number 4 team overall. Only 2 teams are top 14 in Ken Palm offense and defensive efficiency. UConn fits that bill. The other team, of course, Houston, the number 1 seed, overall seed. I look at UConn and what they've done. This is a team that plays elite defense. You look at Arkansas. Arkansas is not the team I expected them to be. When Nick Smith missed much of the part of the season, I thought they'd really improve down the stretch. Well, the weird things are going on. Nick Smith only played 16 or 18 minutes in that last game and did not score. So they're not in their normal rotation. They're a poor free throw shooting team. You look at common foes, UConn 4-0 ATS. Both teams played 4 common opponents. Again, UConn 4-0 ATS, Arkansas 1-3 straight up, 2-2 ATS. And yes, Arkansas does have a top-notch defense, and Musselman knows how to coach them up. But UConn played Bama, number 3, Iowa State, number 7, Creighton, number 13, Seton Hall, number 20, St. Mary's, number 9, just a few games ago. Your Oklahoma State team, Joe, number 12, and Florida's a top 30 team. So plenty of experience. UConn gets it done tonight.
Yep, UConn. I know a lot of folks looking in the futures market for good old UConn to be able to get there and get it done. One of the best teams Hurley has had there in UConn in a long time. Let's switch to a game tomorrow, Ralph, in the other half of the quarterfinals here at the Sweet 16. I believe there is another game that you might be looking at, one that involves that pesky number one team there, Alabama, taking on San Diego State. 7.5 is what we're seeing. That's what Alabama is laying. Are you buying in that game?
I'm going to grab the dog here. You look at San Diego State and they get it done near the end of the season. Obviously, their offense doesn't compare to Alabama, which is a top 20 offense. But Alabama is a team, one of the fastest paced teams. Ken Palm has them, I think, number 5. And they're a team that fires up a lot of three-pointers. What's the matchup here? Well, San Diego State is the number 4 team in three-point defense. You look at Alabama, yes, their defense is elite, a top 5 as far as Ken Palm efficiency goes, but they don't pressure foes. They're only number 312 in forcing turnovers. So we have a San Diego State team that does not turn the ball over, that is upperclassmen laden, had multiple starters back, and all 5 players started at least 33 games for them this year. This team is very cohesive. And we have tempo issues. You have a hectic Alabama tempo against a very slow San Diego State tempo. I think San Diego State can get into their heads, a physical team with slow tempo. And you look at San Diego State, yes, again, the Mountain West is not the competition of Alabama, and Charleston and Furman, their first 2 foes, are not the competition of Alabama. But I expect them to hold Alabama in the 60s. So if I'm going to get 7.5 points with a team that's an elite defensive team that wants to slow tempo, that does not turn the ball over and make mistakes, color me the Aztecs. Again, an actual client release, which goes on Friday.
All right, there you go. 137 in the total in that game as well here. And Ralph had mentioned he's got a couple of games rolling here tonight, but UConn is definitely going to be one of them. And he just told you about San Diego State here, Ralph. And once again, for those that might just be joining us in the chat room, and John Jr. looks like he agrees with you with San Diego State here, Ralph. But give us an idea one more time. Those stats, those TNA, where can we get those one more time?
Well, I shared 3 with you. There are 18 on this free PDF. You go to sportsmemo.com and the JM Sports page, and you'll see on the right-hand column there's a free download, or there's a shortcut. Again, that's sm.buzz/JMS.
Can't go wrong, guys. Information all over the place here. WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Ralph, always a pleasure, my man. Best of luck with the plays here tonight. We'll talk to you again soon. The Pen, Ralph Michaels. Guys, make sure you're checking him out. Following him also on Twitter at CalSportsLV. And we will now get ready to bring in the hottest college basketball handicapper this side of the Mississippi, and maybe that side of the Mississippi. Adam Trigger in the house with us as we are, about 15 minutes away from the opening tip here in the Sweet 16 at Madison Square Garden there. Trig, and 14-0, brother. It doesn't get any better than that, my man. 14 straight, I believe, going for number 15 here tonight. Locked, loaded, a 5% best bet as well.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the later college basketball games tonight. I have a Michigan State hoodie on right now. Fortunately, Kelly in Vegas is at the game at Madison Square Garden, so she will not see this. This is just what I decided to wear today. I wore my Kansas State one the other day. I actually have no clue in this game. This is the one game, Joe, I really have no clue. I think that Kansas State, Michigan State is you take the shiniest coin you have out and flip it, and there you go. I wish I had something better for that one. I don't, but I'm going to give you one that goes tomorrow, and I'll answer questions on any of the other ones that you want. So yeah, let's cash some tickets.
All right, so quick question here before we get diving in. Obviously, in the Sweet 16, you're obviously seeing it unlike anything else here, man, because you don't get to go 14-0 here in March Madness without seeing the board. Are you seeing? I talked to Ralph about the unders, where if you just blindly bet them, you crushed it in the first couple of rounds here. Now we're switching buildings again, right? New locations, a couple of days off. Has your approach to handicapping these games stayed the same throughout here?
It has for me, Joe, because I'm not much of a totals handicapper. So I will, for the sake of like looking at a game, we might have a game that we talk about on a show where I maybe don't have as much of an opinion as a side, and I'll try to handicap the total for that reason. But I've always been more of a side player. I've never fully trusted my handicap on totals. So yeah, I mean, in hindsight, if you've blindly been betting the under so far, you've been good. I don't know that that means it's going to continue. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But there's definitely some merit, I think, to like unders in this tournament. Um, we saw offensive efficiency off the chart in the last
Yeah.
like 2 months of the regular season. Now teams are playing on neutral venues. They're playing in high pressure situations. They're playing with like the stakes are high. They're in a venue that they maybe haven't been in before. So I guess all of that might lend itself to unders, but specifically unders where the numbers have been inflated by 2 months of
Right.
nothing but overs. Like go back to
So true.
February and early March, it was all overs. So
Yep.
if you had the foresight to figure that out, you probably have had a great tournament so far. As far as going forward, I think you take it game by game. I don't know that there's like, okay, well now it's just that's what it is. Going to be all unders, as we know, Joe. Books adjust,
Right.
and you're going to see lower totals at some point. But that's kind of my take on what we've seen so far as the numbers concerned.
All right. Well, we got before we get to your game here, City by the Bay. Big shout out Trig for you and Utah Valley last night getting it done. That was number 14 for you there, 14-0, which is awesome. And we also, City by the Bay is also talking about how catching live unders has been pure money, and you're absolutely correct about that. Even the algorithm doesn't know what the hell to do when it comes to these
Yeah.
in-game live totals. It's nuts, Trig, right?
Oh, of course, Joe. And you could take that for basketball betting, pretty much NBA, college basketball, not just this season. Listen, if you think if you have a good handicap to the under and you're like, I like an under, wait until there's an outburst of points. Coach says, hey, I need a 30-second timeout, and then go
Yep.
hammer your under in game. You're probably gonna win money if you do that. You'll probably get cut off from your book at some point if you keep doing that. And
Yes.
like that's kind of how you
Yeah.
play the in game.
Your middle name will be
total.
Middle. It'll literally,
Yeah,
your middle name
yeah.
will be Middle, because that's what you'll be doing all over the place. All right, guys,
Yeah.
any questions? Drop them into the chat room. Those joining us, Ghosted, always a pleasure to see you. LC, don't forget NHL action, full card. Carmine Bianco coming up to lay out what we've got going on the ice tonight. But talk to me. Your game that you want to talk about is tomorrow, Trig, and breaking down for us. Tell me which one you picked. Which one are you looking at here?
Yeah, so I mean, listen, Ralph just talked about UConn. The Kansas State game basically already tipped off or is tipping off in a couple minutes. So I decided to focus on a game tomorrow. And Joe, if I get it done tonight and I hit 15 in a row, this game is number 16. I'm giving it out for free. This will be my next client selection. So this is a 4% play. I'm hoping that my 5%er wins tonight, and then we're all on number 16 together, and that is the Houston Cougars. I'm sorry, Joe. This just I know you're a Miami Hurricanes guy. This just feels so much like Miami, Kansas last year. For those of you who don't know what happened in that game, Miami put in a great shift in the first half and then lost the game by 26. I'm not saying that that's how this game is going to go, but I do think we see Houston pull away at some point. For me, it comes down to Houston's ability to score against Miami. I don't think this is an elite Miami defense by any means. They rank outside the top 100 in defensive efficiency in KenPom. And I think that's important here because typically when Houston is the better team at both ends of the floor, I don't think there's any question they're going to be better defensively. When they're the better team at both ends of the floor, if you go back over the course of this like run with Houston being elite, Kelvin Sampson, make it what, few years that Houston's kind of been at the top of the rankings nationally. If you look at when they dominate at both ends of the floor, Joe, they almost always win and cover. And I really think that there's no question their defense is going to be able to assert themselves, but their offense should be able to as well. Houston, they still score 75 points per game. They still shoot it at a top 75% clip. And Miami just doesn't defend particularly well. So we should see Houston points, just because of that. Where I think Miami could have trouble is they're going to have to light it up in this game. They're going to have to light it up to stay in this game because Miami is not is they not that they get anything in the post anyway. They really don't. They're not a team that really ever posts up at all. But here they're just definitely not because Houston doesn't let anyone post. If you try to go in the post on Houston, you usually have to have elite post players to be able to have success there. And I like Norchad Omir. He's a really good player, but he's not someone, in my opinion, that's just gonna live with his back to the basket and be able to score in the post on Houston's elite post defense. So, like I said, Miami. Listen, Nigel Pack. They've got the guards. I mean, they have great shooters and they have great guards. But Houston contests shots as good as any team in the country. They're going to be able to extend their defense out to the perimeter. And Houston's a far better rebounding team. And specifically, if Houston has a plan to neutralize Omir, like I think they will, who remember, he played last week, but he was still banged up going into last week. There was a point in time early in the week where it was not a given that he was going to play against Drake. So you wonder if there's any after effects of the injury. But even if there's not, and Houston has a great game plan for Omir, they're not going to they're going to lose the rebounding battle. They'll probably lose it by a margin. And I just think all of those things points to Houston pulling away in this game. Again, Miami, I really, and I kind of rank them. If I power rated all 16 teams left, Joe, Houston has my top spot. I have them number one. I have Miami at like 15. And that's with Princeton and FAU and teams like that and still in here. The ACC was down. I'm just not high on this Miami team this year. I think they were a little bit fortunate to get here. Drake went ice cold. Brian Power, I feel bad that I had to sit next to him during that game, Joe. He needed Drake 5%er. They just stopped scoring the last 5 minutes of that game. Indiana, I mean, I suppose it was a good performance from Miami, but I haven't been impressed with this team. Really, really impressed for a while. And I don't think they can beat the team that I think is the best team in the country. So I'm laying the touchdown here with Houston. 4% play for me. I laid the 7, and I'm hoping that this keeps the streak alive.
It's funny. I talked to. We'll get to the question here in a second with our good friends in the chat room. Ghosted hanging out, wants to know about Musselman and the masterclass he's going to be showing tonight here for Arkansas. But we did, we talked to our good friend from the Hustle podcast, CT Betts, and call me crazy. But the fact that Houston, I believe, is even money to win that side of the bracket might be worth a play too here, Trig, if you can get them at plus money, even an even bet for Houston to come out Joe, the winner of that side.
I want to comment on that because I've heard a lot of, so here's how I think a lot of people are approaching like region betting and betting right now. They're going to the East region and they're saying, oh, well, all these teams, like no one expected Michigan State to be here. No one expected Creighton, Princeton. So let me just take a shot with a team from the East. And it's like, okay, I understand the thought process in that, but you can look at it another way. So I'll just give you some context. Chris and I have Houston 12-1 to win this thing from back in November for a ton. We came back after one of their losses during the regular season and got like 9.5-1. Like we've been high on Houston to win this thing from October. And so now just because they're going to run into some decent teams that you can get them to win a region That's just win their region, right? That's just beat Miami
That's
and
it.
beat the
Yep.
winner of, what is it, Texas Xavier, I think maybe. I don't have the bracket in front of me, but talk about winning 2 games. I don't hate that. And you got to do the other thing. Steve, the little Steve Merrill is on my shoulder right now, Joe, saying, run the parlay odds. Run the
Yep.
parlay odds. See if the parlay odds are better. I would have to do some math there, but it actually might not be in this situation. It definitely won't be if the dog wins that other game, because you're already talking about having a parlay like what, like a minus 300 maybe with Houston
That's correct.
into. So maybe the plus 105 with Houston is good. Regardless, I still think Houston gets it done and wins the region. So yeah, I don't mind that bet either.
Don't hate it. All right, so guys, get ready. Got Carmine Bianco coming up in the NHL. Some soccer going on. I see the Vegas DGen already yucking it up in there with Carm in the chat room about these soccer plays here. Anytime I see Harry Kane, I break out into to hives. But talk to me here about Musselman and the masterclass. What are we gonna get here, Trig, tonight? Are you leaning one way or the other with Arkansas getting now, well, it's 3.5, so they are getting some love here. Is it a master class tonight?
I doubt it. I don't. So here's the thing. It won't be a master class. It'll be Musselman somehow motivating his team to play over their heads and win another tournament game. Because that's like, if you look at Eric Musselman, that's like what he's done in the tournament. He somehow gets his teams to play out of their minds in the tournament. That's just what it is. He's not I don't think he's gonna outcoach Hurley per se. It's really it's gonna come down to, can his team make shots? Because
Right.
if they can, they have a great chance to win this game. And that's probably the only reason that I don't have UConn on my card. If you watched our college basketball show this afternoon, I did give UConn out as my best bet for the show. I still like them. I still really like them to win this game, because Arkansas is not going to have a lot of the advantages they had against Kansas State. Specifically, you go back and look at the offensive rebounds that Arkansas was able to get against Kansas State to come back from down, what was it, Joe, 12? I think they were down 12, and they kind of had this comeback fueled by timely shot, put back, just being more physical, more athletic, kind of I'll use the term, they wanted it more. I think it's like reasonable to say that they just, they gave a better effort than Kansas down the stretch. And where it really showed up was the offensive rebounds. I think they had like 14 of them or something like that. They're not going to win the rebounding battle here. UConn's an elite rebounding team. I've talked about this all year, earlier in the year. Like, Sanogo would just no-show games where he was just like not really a factor. I mean, this guy is an absolute force. He's an absolute monster. And now he's finally playing like it. Back-to-back games in the tournament, 24 points, 28 points. He's just been an absolute machine. He's a force on the inside. They can play Donovan Clingan with him on the inside, or sort of spell their big man with those two. It's going to be really, really difficult for Arkansas to get in the paint and score. And it goes back to the shooting. Arkansas, 324th in the country, 31.3% from three. I mean, Joe, I mean, anyone can have a day, right? Like, those guys are all good basketball players. If Arkansas comes out and just shoots it out of their minds, then they could win this game. But if this game plays out like it likely will, with UConn, dominating the inside, forcing Arkansas into threes, tough shots, bad shots, and then Sanogo just, being the beast he is in the paint. And Joe, UConn has shot it a lot better. I mean, I was at the game on Sunday, MVP Arena, Albany, New York. UConn was a little helter-skelter first half. It took them about 20 minutes to figure out that St. Mary's was going to just completely slow them down, and they weren't going to be able to get anything in transition. UConn came out in the second half. They got it inside to Sanogo. They got open looks. They hit those shots, and it was all she wrote. I trust UConn more. There is ways that Arkansas wins and certainly covers, but I really do like the Huskies. So I will definitely, I have UConn 30-1 to win this thing still. I like them to win. And I'll say I have a pretty strong lean on them to find a way to cover the number.
Oh, there you go here, guys. Going for number 15 is what he is. And yes, Ghosted writes, Musselman could probably make him run through a brick wall. Amen to that. Doesn't mean he's going to win. But yes, it would definitely run through the brick wall. Adam Trigger, my man, good luck. 5% best bet, guys. For number 15 in a row tonight. It's available. It's one of the late games in the Sweet 16. Head over to his page at WagerTalk.com. Hop on board here, guys. Great 14-0 run. Looking to make it 15-0. Trig, always a pleasure, brother. Thank you very much. Good luck with those plays here tonight. And we're going to get ready, of course, to talk a little hockey because a monster slate on the board here tonight. And I can't think of anybody better to talk the NHL with than our good friend Carmine Bianco in the house here tonight. And, of course, if you guys have any NHL questions tonight, if you have any soccer questions, this is the guy you want to talk to here, as he was just doing the math, I believe, on the rollover money line. We were talking to minus 300, Carm. And look at that. You didn't have an abacus, no nut calculator. What'd you do there, man? What'd you come up with for us on this ability in 2 games at minus 300 there to lay with Houston?
Yeah, the first of all, it's such a bad format here. You guys have me following a guy, going after a guy who's 14-0 in NCAA. You got me coming on. Come on, man. I should have started. This is like finishing your meal and then you find out for dessert they're out of everything. All they have is like a biscotti left, and you have no teeth. So, but the point of the Houston bet, getting at plus 105, if they're minus 300 in the first game and hypothetically they're minus 300 in the second, that is a minus 130 parlay. So you're getting worse odds parlaying their money lines in 2 straight games. If they're minus 200 in the second game, it is even money. So you're still not getting a better price if you can get plus 105. So anything in that second game that's minus 200 or north of that is going to make you're going to end up with a juiced parlay. So taking that plus 105 might not be a bad idea.
No, that's the way to do it. Absolutely here, Carm. And listen, you're a little modest there. As great as Trig has been for March Madness, the NHL season has been very, very good to you. Soccer also in full effect. I know you and Vegas DGen there. We're talking about Norway, Belgium tomorrow. He was talking about Harry Kane not being the choking pig, maybe, that he has been in the past. So plenty of soccer going on. And some NHL, but I see right now, I mean, look at the record right there, 281 and 200, good for just about 59 units since November of last year. So come on, man. It's not like you haven't been cashing tickets in the NHL either, my friend.
Yeah, no, it's been good, and even the 5% plays I think are 10 and 3 for 2023, I believe 9 and 3 or 10 and 3, one of the two. We just came off another winner, so it's been going well, and 4 plays up for tonight. And we're actually going to discuss one of the games that I have as a client play on today's show.
We'll get you guys the code that you can hop on board with Carm here in just a minute. But I believe the game you want to talk about is going to be Winnipeg and Anaheim tonight. And what do you think, though? Anaheim at home. It's not exactly like they've been a tremendous ATS team here this year. Winnipeg coming into town. What are you thinking? Who are you favoring here at this price?
Yeah, I basically probably the last couple of weeks or so, I've been just trying to fade Anaheim in certain spots. They're not going to win many games anyways, but every once in a while they'll throw in a pretty good performance. I faded them on Tuesday with Calgary in regulation time, laying $1.30 in regulation as a 5% play, and that came in. The Ducks didn't show up. I didn't expect them to, and I thought it was a great spot to fade them. And I think this is another great spot to fade them. You have a Jets team. The Ducks season's been over since November. It probably ended when the season started. They're not a very good team. And then you toss in a bunch of injuries. And they're just not a deep team. They're basically hoping for probably one of those 3 bottom spots at the end of the season, which gives them the best chance of getting the number 1 pick in next year's draft, which is going to be Connor Bedard. He's a generational talent. Is going to is going to help any team that picks them up in that number one spot next year. But you've got the Jets, 10 games left. 10 games left. They have that final playoff spot right now, 4 points ahead of Calgary, and every game is important to them. They cannot drop any points. Their next 4 games, they're going to be playing after this Ducks team. They're going to be playing. Where are they here? Anaheim, San Jose, Detroit, with a tougher game mixed in between. So those are games they can't drop any points. They need 6 wins. Mm-hmm. They need 3 wins out of those games that I just mentioned to stay ahead of Calgary, who are, I think, like I mentioned, are 4 points back as well for that final playoff spot. And they played the Ducks twice already. Manhandled them both times in regulation, 5-2 and 3-2. That 3-2 game, it was a 1-goal game. The analytics on that were insane. It's one of those games where the Ducks goalie stood on his head. I just don't see how that happens tonight. I'm going to continue to fade this Ducks team in the right spots, and taking Winnipeg here, I think, is the right play. 6 of their final 10 games are against teams that are outside of the playoffs right now, so they probably have a very good chance of making the playoffs and keeping Calgary on the outside looking in, which is also a good thing for me because I put in for my clients a lot of mid-season bets on teams to make and miss the playoffs. In the Eastern Conference, Washington and Pittsburgh, I picked them both to miss the playoffs at some nice plus money prices, and at least one of those teams is going to miss it. And I've got Calgary missing the playoffs, and so I'm hoping a Jets win tonight and a Calgary loss tonight to the Vegas Golden Knights, which I think can very well happen. We'll make that gap 6 with 9 games left, and I like my position at that point.
All right, good stuff there, guys. That's one game. And Carm, we'll go to the chat room as we got a couple of questions coming in for you on the ice. I mean, an absolutely loaded slate here tonight, and the fade for Anaheim obviously going to still be on. But let's talk about another fade team, or are they? As it looks like here, Jimmy J's like, is he nuts thinking the under in this Bruins Canadiens game tonight? He says Allen is a worry. But do him and Swayman show up tonight? I'm assuming he's talking about Jake Allen and his nearly, 5.5 goals against this month that he's been giving up. Listen, Tampa learned the hard way that, Montreal is dangerous at home. In Boston? Yeah. I don't know. What are you thinking here, Carm?
Yeah, listen, Montreal can surprise you at home when they're in Montreal, and they did do it to Tampa, but they're not a very good team when they hit the road, and especially with the Bruins. The Bruins, after they secured that 50th win in which set a record for getting to 50 wins in the fewest amount of games. I think it was like 62 games. They then dropped a couple of them. It was probably a little too much celebrating, but they're back on that horse and they're playing extremely well. And even though it's not Linus Ullmark in goal, it's Swayman. And listen, maybe it's the defense in front of him. He is 18-6 this season with a 2.2 goals against average, a .920 save percentage. That is not a bad number for a backup goalie, for a number 2 goalie. This is one of those ones where, I don't think you probably play the Montreal team total under, because I'm not sure they get the 3. I think 2.5. If you can get 2.5 with decent money on the under, you take it. This is one of those ones where the Bruins probably win it. One of those 4-1 score lines, get the job done. They don't need to run up the score. They just need to win it in handy fashion and move on to their next game. They've pretty much got everything locked up. It's about managing minutes. I hate to use that word, Joe. Load management. Yep. I'm going to use it because they've got the guys like Bergeron and Marchand and Pastrnak. These are guys that I think you're going to see fewer minutes for them as this season winds down. Even 3 or 4 less shifts a night where they play 2 or 3 minutes of less hockey is going to extend that shelf life for these guys come playoff time, because they are obviously the favorites heading into the Stanley Cup playoffs.
All right, so I got one final question for you, and shout out to Jimmy J and Vegas DGen and Kate Thom, Connie Tenorino in there as well, going with Kansas State. here tonight. That game is underway. But the hockey, we got the Wild and Flyers underway. And I got to ask you, is there any way this Panther Tampa Bay Toronto game lands under? It's 7, but is there any way we don't get just a boatload of goals here? I believe, isn't what's his face on maternity leave? Isn't Samsonov on maternity? He's not with the team here. What are we getting here? This ain't going to be 3 or 4 goals in this game. This might be 12 or 13. What are we getting, Carb?
Yeah. So when you're looking at a number of 7, a total of 7, I'm going to thank Ralph Michaels for this because he's given me this info over this week. But you had a 7 last night with the Edmonton Oilers and Arizona, and heading into last night, the over-unders as far as this season with a total of 7, there had been 38 games that had gone over the total 11 times, under 18 times, and 9 pushes. The Edmonton Oilers have been involved in 18 of those heading into last night, and they were 8-6-3 to the over, but 6-1-1 their last 8. Well, last night finishes 4-3 in overtime, so it pushes. Now you look at the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers have been involved in 9 games this season where the total is 7. None of the games have gone over. 6 have gone under. 3 have pushed. A 4-3 game with the Sabres, a 4-3 game with the Canucks, and a 4-3 game with the Anaheim Ducks. Every other game has gone under. 4-2 for 6 goals, 4-1 for 5, 3-1 and 2-1, and then a 4-1 and a 4-2. So not only did they stay under, but a bunch of those really stayed under. So it's not an automatic. And I get that Samsonov isn't supposed to be in goal tonight. I think the listed goalie is Matt Murray,
right?
And
Bobrovsky.
Yeah. And Florida's played better at home. The thing is that both teams have very good offenses. So the Leafs could very well go in there, and it just depends on which Leaf team shows up. I had the under in the Leafs game, under 6 against the New York Islanders on Tuesday night, and it's 2-1 with about 7 minutes left in the second period and looking good. And then the Leafs forget to play defense and allow 6 goals in about a 22-minute span and lose the game 7-2.
Yep.
So this is the thing with the Leafs. The Leafs have been consistently inconsistent this year. They've never won more than you have to go back to December 13th of last season, of last year to find when the Leafs have won 4 games or more. They've been at pretty much 3 games and they lose a couple, win 1, lose a couple more. So consistently inconsistent. And we know that right now, Florida is a point out of the playoffs after losing to the Flyers in epic fashion in Philadelphia on the tail of winning the night before handily. So they need the points. This is a big game for them, but the Leafs love to play spoilers. So it remains to be seen. I wouldn't take the over, but it would not surprise me if this is the first Florida game that goes over this year with a total of 7 in the 10th attempt.
Yeah, in the 10th shot. Those are great numbers there, Carm. Outstanding. Great stuff. Now, Carm, tell us again. I see it on the screen there. 30-day all-access pass, $199. So obviously, next 30 days, all your hockey stuff. But talk to me also soccer as well, right? Alive and well.
Yeah, hockey, soccer, and baseball's about to start. So I had a good start to last year's baseball season. I'm going to be doing it a lot more, put a lot more time into it. I haven't done any preseason because I just do not like preseason. But hockey, NHL, obviously right through the Stanley Cup playoffs we've got. Soccer, a ton of tournaments going on still, Champions League, all the Euro leagues going on, MLS as well too, and of course baseball. So all 100, the code all 100 will knock $100 off that $299 30-day all access. And then after you make a bunch of money, you use all 100 again and get the next 30 days.
Boom. See? You like it. There's a plan. He's a man with a plan. I love it. Carmine Bianco, a pleasure. That puck get ready to drop, of course. Toronto at Florida. Should be one of the more entertaining games here tonight for sure. Carm, Best of luck with the card here tonight. We'll see you, of course, again real soon. Make sure you're visiting Carmine over at WagerTalk.com and use that code ALL100 and pick up that 30-day all-access package. All right, guys, we're approaching the 7 o'clock Eastern time hour here. A lot going on. We've got Sweet 16 action already underway. Carm laid out there a couple of great games tonight in the NHL. There's still time for you to take advantage. Trig and his 5% best bet going for number 15 in a row available tonight in the Sweet 16. So no reason not to make tonight here, this Thursday, an extremely profitable one. Take advantage by visiting these guys over at WagerTalk.com. Big shout out to the chat room. Mr. Holmes, by the way, wants to know if the Huskies are going to cover. I can tell you right now that both, if you didn't see it, both Ralph Michaels and Adam Trigger are under the belief that, yes, UConn will get it done here tonight. That game coming up in a few. Connie, also big shout out. FAU is your best bet versus Tennessee. It's also my best bet. I think FAU will prove finally what a fraud the Tennessee Vols are. Big shout out Vegas, DGen, Jimmy J, and the rest of you guys. We'll be back again for Last Call Saturday, like we are each and every week. Meghan Payton will be back on Saturday. It was an honor to be able to hang out and fill in for her tonight. But, guys, plenty of action on the card. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here. Best of luck with all the plays here tonight. We'll see you again on Saturday for another edition of Last Call. Good luck, guys. We'll see you soon.
Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from WagerTalk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 WagerTalk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.